So I have it set up S through F. We got the killers down here. We're going to do it in order of their release. Trapper, C tier. He's okay. Listen. He's got his buffs recently. The haste after setting a trap. Being able to close off certain areas. You just need that extra. You need that time to set up. And if it weren't for having to set stuff up, if you had Trapper's Sack, and you could carry all of your traps at the beginning of the match and pick them up and put them back down wherever, he could easily go up to like A tier. But no, C tier. Next would be Wraith, who is right here. Wraith, B tier. Pretty self-explanatory. There's not much to his power. Uncloak, you get speed boost, no terror radius, uncloak. The reason he's not any higher than B tier, in my opinion, is because there's not a high skill ceiling. Why am I on a tier list? I was redeemed. Artist redeemed a tier list on tier listing the killers based upon my personal opinion on their powers, on how powerful they are. Wraith doesn't have a very high skill ceiling. You kind of figure out how to play him, learn some of the ways to, cutting off survivors, body blocking. Once you figure him out, there's no like weird tricks to do with him that just throw him way up higher that you can't do on any other killer. Then you've got Hillbilly. Hillbilly has got to be A tier. He might drop down. No. I was gonna say he might drop down after this new update, but right now he's at an A. Especially, he's got a high skill ceiling. A good Billy can curve around tight areas. Insta down, pretty simple. A lot of mobility. Honestly, the only thing that stops him from being up in the S tier is just that you have to put in so much work to be incredibly good with him. And I feel like because you have to put in so much work to really see any progress, like curves or anything like that, you have to, it's going to take a lot of work to even notice that. Huntress? No, Nurse is next. Nurse, S tier. I don't ever foresee a situation where Nurse will ever drop any lower than S tier. The ability to cut off loops, the ability to ignore walls, anything, everything. Short of... Even, like, if they were to take it away and make it so she only has one blink, that would only drop her down to A tier, I would say. But 2 blinks, S tier. S tier easily. Huntress, A tier. There's the reason she was the most played killer in 2v8, and that's just you can lob a hatchet. High skill ceiling as well. Being able to do shooting star hatchets, being able to launch hatchets just from across the map and hit people is great. She's also very beginner friendly. Let me put someone that's not Sadako on real quick.
Shall we play today?
That was a bad idea. Okay. She's also super beginner friendly, I would say. You know, you don't have to go for those long shots to get consistent kills with her. That's what she has over Billy, to be honest, is that because she is easily playable for newer players. And you can get those kills super easily at a low skill level. And just the more you play her, the better you're going to be with her. Next is... Well, I'm going to have to do this so I can see. Myers. C tier. He has limited power. His power's great, don't get me wrong. His ability to stalk and sit down, amazing. The fact that you can only hit tier 3 so many times in a single trial brings him down. You could argue, oh, but Tombstone is the most incredible power. That's an iridescent add-on. That takes, you know, you're not going to be able to run Tombstone every single game. You're not going to be able to run Tombstone Peace every single game. And even like Scratch Mirror and Vanity Mirror, like, yeah, they work, but also like that takes away the rest of his power. I think Myers could use for a rework, just because his power, in my opinion, is outdated. It was great for when it came out. It was super overpowered when it came out. But I don't know. I'd like to see something new come of it. I don't know what that would be. But who knows? Hag. B tier. The reason I put her over Trapper, despite Trapper's traps arguably are you know, actually dealing damage, whereas Hags don't, is that a well-placed Hag trap, I feel like, has the ability to be more powerful than a Trapper's trap, because if a trap gets placed, you're going to if a trap gets triggered and you're able to teleport it, you're guaranteed to not only get the hit, but you know, you may even get it down. Whereas with Trapper's Trap without add-ons, you're not guaranteed to get it down. Even when somebody's injured and you step into Trapper's Trap, if somebody can get them out, they don't leave in the dying state without an add-on. Whereas Hag's Trap, if it gets triggered, you teleport, hit them, they're down. Or they're injured. I would say being a good Trapper can make you a very good Hag, but being a very good Hag doesn't necessarily make you a good Trapper. If that makes sense. Hag also completely feels more like you're thinking about every single thing that's going on in the entire game. One thing that I also like about Hag is one of her add-ons, which, you know, I don't want to throw add-ons in here too much for her power, but there is one thing that does make me raise her up a little bit, and honestly, the reason why Myers isn't down in D tier, is Hag does have an add-on for she can't teleport to traps, but her phantoms, the fake Hags, are solid and have collision. So you can completely use it as, instead of like cutting people off, dealing damage, taking hits immediately, you can cut off loops, you can cut off doorways. It's crazy what a hack can do with that add-on. It's great. I love it. Doctor, B tier. His ability to just completely make you not be able to vault, forcing survivors to do something that's not gens, making it impossible for survivors to do gens if they're too mad. It's good. He's got good information base kit with his static blast. He can't do damage with his power, but I feel like he doesn't need to. Yeah. Cannibal. Bubba. B tier. You're gonna notice I'm probably not gonna put many people in D or F tier. I feel like a lot of killers are gonna be in this B tier. Bubba. The only reason Bubba is in an A tier is because he doesn't have the mobility Cannibal does, and the Hillbilly does. Bubba does have more control when he does his sweeps. You don't have to worry about curving around a corner because you've got it. You do have to worry about bumping because that puts you in a really long cooldown, but you have more control and less mobility. Yeah. Freddy. D tier. The only reason he's not an F tier is because Dream Pallets. Dream Pallets, you can start Dream Pallets on a yellow add-on. So I'll allow it to bring him up. Dream Pallets are a complete game changer for Freddy. Dream Snares, if it was just Dream Snares, it'd be down an F. Guaranteed. But because of Dream Pallets, I'll bring him up higher. Snares. What snares hinder? If I remember correctly, what do snares do? I don't play with snares. Yeah, they're hindered. They're hindered, but like it's not super noticeable. At this point, at that point, it's may as well not even have them. Yeah. Pallets, on the other hand, if you swing through every pallet, whether it's real or not, you are more likely to get, the survivors genuinely will not be able to tell whether they're about to throw a real pallet or a dream pallet, and it works well. It works well. The only thing that stops him from being in C tier with the dream pallets is the fact that survivors have to be asleep and in the dream world for any of his power to take place. Can you not bother me while I'm doing a tier list? You don't even want to swift with me.
I'm busy bouldering my gates.
Then go You're not. You're too busy bugging me.
I bug my Fifi too much into that.
Yeah, well, you know what's going to happen if you bug me too much? I'm going to leave.
Are you? Where will you go?
I'm going to throw all your stuff out on the street. Survivors have to be asleep for Freddy's power to exist, to work. And it's easy to get out of the dream state. Missing a skill check on a generator, I think it also does it if you're healing might also do it, to be honest. Thank you. No, missing any skill check causes them to wake up. Or alarm clocks. Alarm clocks, though, are a ridiculous way to wake up. They can wake themselves up, which doesn't make much sense. And even then, like, it doesn't bug them that much. Miss a skill check and wake up. It's fine. The teleport's okay, but the fact that you don't get to teleport... Can you not bug me, please? I've asked you nicely once already.
Fifi. Nobody loves me, Phoenix.
His teleport being completely disabled in the end game drags him down as well. Pigu. Pig. C tier. I wish her dash didn't have as big of a wind up as it does. That's really it. That's really all I have to say. That's what's stopping her from being any higher. Traps are okay. Gives them something to do that's not doing gens, which is a good plus. Which almost makes me want to put her a little bit higher. Definitely higher than Trapper. I will say that. Yeah, that's fine. Why are you just typing femboy cat? Pig's traps are okay. The fact that she only has 4 of them is fine. Oh. Gotcha. The fact that Pig's traps don't really ever lead to kills without, like, playing in a very niche way, which, you know, is going to get you 1 kill, probably, with it. But then everyone else is going to get out because you're wasting your time on that one person. Clown. If it was how I was playing Clown, B tier. Right there in B tier. So his bottles not only hinder, but you can also make yourself faster. The amount of speed difference you can make with Clown with both of his bottles not only is probably one of the biggest speed differences out of any other killer. You also can disorient the survivors with the pink bottle. You know, a lot of survivors will leave loops because of the pink bottle, because they would rather, you know, lose distance rather than be disoriented and be hindered, which can lead to good mind games. I think that's a good spot for him. I don't really have a whole lot to say about Clown. Spirit. A tier. I'd say above Hillbilly. Do I actually have... I don't want to check right now. If I don't, I need to. If you want a tutorial on how to be a good spirit main, I'll send you a link. Good pair of headphones. That's how you be a good spirit main. The ability to catch up to survivors quickly, mind game survivors, incredibly easy with spirit, because yes, they can hear you, but you can use the sounds you're making to make it seem like you're doing one thing and do something else entirely. One way I'll do it is, like, say, let's say this rectangular shack, doors here, window vaults here, pallets over here. If I see the survivor running this way, what I'll do is I'll start my phase, and what I'll do is I'll run up towards the door and then come back, because 9 times out of 10 what a survivor is going to do is they're going to come through the door and vault the window, because if I were to come through and follow them directly, I will not have the time to get them through the window. But because they vault that window and I catch them off guard, 9 times out of 10 they take a hell state and they'll never go back to shack. And if they do, instead of doing that, you catch them off at the pallet, because they're going to go for the pallet. Yeah, a lot of mind games you can do with Spirit that you cannot do with any other killer. Yeah. Legion. B tier. Specifically here. Being able to damage a lot of survivors really quickly. You know, the 5-hit down is okay. The chances that you're going to get it consistently is slim to none. When you do get it, it's great. But you can also get a lot of information off of Legion, which is, you know, if you ask me, the best thing you can get from a killer's power is information. The second biggest thing you can get off of a killer's power is damage. Legion gets you both of those. And it's just the ability, making them mend is something that's not doing generators. That's another big plus. Really, anything, there's a lot of really good perks that synergize very well with Legion, like Thanatophobia, Sloppy Butcher. I'm pretty sure. Doesn't Sloppy Butcher work with, or is that a special attack? Okay, that's a special attack. Never mind. Yeah, no, never mind. Sloppy Butcher does not work well with Legion. But, you know, there's other good ones. There's a lot of really good perks that will work well. I don't want to look them up right now because I still have a lot of perks to go, a lot of killers to go through. Plague. Hear me out. A tier. The fact that survivors have to do one of two things. They either have to spend almost the entire game broken, unable to heal, or cleanse to be healed and risk giving the plague more power and a ranged attack that is by far probably the most powerful ranged attack in the entire game. Is incredible. I don't play a lot of Plague. I don't enjoy playing Plague. The only thing that can stop a really good Plague is communication and a good Swift. The first survivor that gets sick on a bunch of solo queue determines what the survivors are going to do. If the first survivor cleanses, everybody has to cleanse. If the first survivor doesn't cleanse, no one can cleanse, because there are how many pools of blood? How many pools? I don't know these I don't know this off the top of my head. It doesn't say. I don't know off the top of my head. But if every single pool becomes corrupted from survivors cleansing, then she is forced into her power and it cleanses every single pool. Meaning that, say, I think there's, 6 pools? If every survivor cleanses and she gets forced into her power, if there are 6 pools, and don't quote me on that, then 5 of those pools get wasted. So she has to have the ability to, when survivors are cleansing, keep an eye on the amount of pools that are being corrupted and use them, even if it means using one that you don't think you're going to use because otherwise you're going to get forced into your power. That's what you need to do. About the only thing that is stopping her from getting higher on this list is just the fact that there's so many things that have to be done, and there is a counter. Good communication, and that's just something that does not help with a nurse. You can't communicate your way out of a really good nurse. Ghostface. More powerful than Myers. I would say B tier. Under Legion. Ghostface has the ability to stalk, no terror radius. You can 99 people, so that way you can instantly expose them and down them super quickly. You're able to get a lot of distance, and you can stalk them from a decent far away. You can hit corners. You can lean to the side, crouch. You can play so extremely stealthy to make it work, and to get the angles you need. Where Ghostface lacks in his power is that the time he's spending stalking can sometimes hinder his ability to pressure generators. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've watched play Ghostface that they've sat there and stalked somebody on a gen being basically right next to them when they easily could go up and pull them off the generator. Is it more fun to stalk them? Yes, but if you are losing games because you're stalking them over running up and just yoinking them, then you need to just know when to use your power and stalk, and when to just use your stealth and just yoink or just chase. Sometimes it's not worth it to expose them. And a good Swift can absolutely 100% outdo Ghostface power. Because if somebody takes a hit or tries to take a hit, you not only waste the Ghostface's time, because now they're not trying to hit you, they're losing time on the exposed on the person that's marked. And then when they do swing at you, all the progress they had to exposing the person who took the hit, is gone. So it just powerful, not as powerful as he could be. Demogorgon. Demogorgon is arguably the most balanced killer in the entire game, which is why I put him at C tier. He's an M1 with a range attack, with a leap. It's okay. He can break pallets. He does have portals that does give him some mobility, which maybe puts him above Myers. I think that where he lacks is, once he places a portal, until survivors break it, he does not get it back. This can negatively affect him in endgame the longer a game goes on, because if generator's not in that area, survivors aren't going to go over there. There's no reason to destroy that portal. Yeah. Not a lot to talk about his power. It's pretty simple. No real niche ways to play him. Just chase, attack, get leaps in when you can to close the distance and potentially hit somebody. Oni. I think Oni belongs up here in A tier. B tier. I decided on B tier. The reason he's okay. Oni is basically a less better version as Billy. With the charge attack, you don't have a lot of ability to turn. It's better to instead, like, as you're running, because you're not going to curve, you're going to really just have more options as to go side to side rather than actually turn. You do have the insta-down ability in your power. The power you can get as many times as possible. You can cut it shorter. But it is dependent on you being able to keep people injured and absorb the blood orbs from them. Where he does better than Hillbilly is the fact that he is able to use his insta-down more along the lines of like Bubba. You can do it more close range rather than, long range. But because he has to charge his power to use it by collecting blood orbs, I would say drops him down below Billy. If it was he had that ability all the time, high A tier, maybe even S tier, but because he has to charge it, B tier. Deathslinger, Poon Daddy. His power: shoot survivors, bring them to you. Simple enough. The nice thing about his power is that even if you are not able to drag them close enough to you to deal damage, you are guaranteed to, at the very least, put them in the injured state. And in a deep wound. You can get a lot of good long shots. You can, hit people through windows. Where he lacks is he's slow, and if he doesn't get a lot of early momentum in the game, he will lose the match. Guaranteed. Pyramid Head. A tier. Not as high as Plague. I might shift these a little bit once I get these all done. But, the reason Pyramid Head is so good is because he has his ranged attack. He can cut off loops. The fact that he can, you know, have the... What's it called? What is that power called? The Rights of Judgment. Oh, just a trail. A trail of judgment, I guess it'd be called. To place the trails down in the middle of loops, survivors will see that trail and just be scared to run through it and leave the loop, giving you the opportunity to cut them off on the way to the next loop, lose the distance that you have. And when they do run through it, it benefits you as well because you don't waste your time having to hook them. You can cage them or mori them immediately. The cages, they'll take them completely across the map. You don't have to worry about flashlight saves, pallet saves, any of that. He also has his ranged attack. It does take some getting used to, but with good aura perks, you can get a lot of very good value out of it. The first survivor and the first killer to have the most ways to kill survivors. The first one to have the second one to have a mini mori. The first one to have a base kit mini mori though, because you can sacrifice mori, cage, or the mini mori, which is where you just where you would normally cage them, just instantly kill them. Yeah. And then I think there's a fifth way, bleeding out. That's what the fifth way is. Also, the fact that his glutes are so massive almost makes me want to put him in S tier. Blight. Do I gotta say it? S tier. Even they did remove Hug Tech, which almost makes me want to put him in A tier. But the ability to cut people off, close any distance, just being able to rush. I mean, it's crazy to think that running fast is a good power. Who would have thought? Skill ceiling on Blight is high. Hug Tech's gone, but skill ceiling is still up there. I don't even know what to say about this one. The only thing that would make him more powerful and maybe even above Nurse is if he could hit people on the first rush. The fact that he has to bump into something one time before he can injure somebody, you know, is really what holds him back. Twins! I don't want to put Twins high, but B tier. Right here. Reason Twins is so high is because Victor is so good at downing survivors, at giving you information, at everything, you know. He just... on certain maps, you can get so far lunges with him that it's ridiculous. I hate playing twins because you have to slug. But they're good. They're a good killer. Victor being able to latch onto survivors and you can see where they're going. Killer instinct off of him. You get to see where other survivors are. There's so much information that they give you. Trickster. B tier. Right there. It takes more knives to down survivors than it would with like Huntress. Main event is okay. It's very situational to get a lot of value. You can save it. But, you know, sometimes it's, you know, saving it is not going to be worth it. Because you can be one blade away and then next thing you know, you're just waiting to use it and because you don't want to use it the next time you run into a single survivor. You want to save it for when you're in a long hallway with 2 or 3 survivors so you can get 2 or 3 downs with it. There's not a lot of reason. I don't know. Main event's too situational for me to put him up higher. The blades are good, and I mean they do a decent job, and you can spam them and get a lot of hits. But also sometimes it's better to be more picky on when you throw them, and you just got to know which one is which. The skill ceiling high. A good trickster can easily be up here in A tier, but the fact that that skill ceiling is that high makes me drop him down. It's a huge learning curve. Nemesis. Somewhere in B, let me figure out where. Right there. The zombies hardly ever do anything any match. They maybe stop survivors from working on gens for 5 seconds. The whip, the tentacle whip, infects survivors the first time. It takes 3 hits with the whip to down a survivor unless they're already infected. There's no downside to being infected other than it taking 1 less hit with the whip to down you. I wish that there was some sort of effect that would happen when being infected. But also, I feel like if they did have an effect, then they would have to give more than 4 syringes. And the fact that there's only 4 syringes in every single match with Nemesis just would put a rough time. You have to kind of realize when you want to use it. And honestly, I feel like more times, most of my matches against the Nemesis, I never use a syringe. How many of those are because all the other survivors are using them? Probably pretty high, but not high enough for me to like. I mean, not that I'm missing out on it because I don't feel like I need it. He could be higher if it wasn't for his stomps being super loud, so even when he's undetectable, you can hear him coming from a mile away. Yeah. Could be better, but I just think he needs... He could be better. He could be better. but he's okay where he's at. Pinhead. A tier. Right here. The box is so good. It forces survivors to do something else, even if it's just one survivor that leaves the gen to go get the box. It's big. You get so much information. His range attack makes it hard for survivors to do anything. If you can land it consistently, you can break that any distance you have between another survivor. You can force survivors to not leave the exit gates if you chain them. You know, his ability to give you information and also force survivors to do something else. And if you find the box, it's great. You get so much information and it starts the chain hunt, which stops survivors from doing generators. It's a good power. Artist. I'm gonna say it. F tier. What do her crows do? You can get information. You're not gonna get... I fear a good artist. A good artist can make her be up here in B tier. But that's the skill ceiling. Hear me out. Most of these, a good pig can bring her up to A tier. A good trapper can bring him up to A tier. You know, a good Freddy can bring him up to high B tier. But if a good artist brings her up to low B tier, it's just rough. You know, her power needs something, and I don't know what it is. You can get information, you can cut off loops, but you know, you can argue that her power can force survivors to leave the loop, but a good survivor is also going to be able to stay in that loop and avoid your power. Her power also, if you try and use your power to avoid to get survivors to leave a good loop, good communication and another survivor coming up and getting rid of the bird can destroy even a good artist, to be honest. The fact that the cooldown on the birds is higher the more birds you use means that, you know, if you want to go for a long distance bird damage, you have to already know where a survivor is, which is not a time when you would want to use a long distance bird. You use those long distance birds to get information. You can injure survivors with long distance birds, but it is more difficult and you already have to have that information, which you can get with aura perks. Let's see. Sadako. Onryo. A tier. Specifically here. Tapes. Force survivors to do something that isn't gens. She has built-in slowdown. A built-in potential to mini-mori somebody if they don't do the tapes. Her ability to teleport, her ability to be undetectable, her ability to ignore pallet stuns, cut off survivors. She has so much potential, and her information is so wonderful. It's not a guarantee, but you can tell where survivors are or have been based upon the TVs that are off. Because if a survivor does not want you to teleport to a gen they are working on, they are likely to turn the TV off. And because I have the aura of every single TV that is on, and I know which ones I've teleported to, I can tell which TVs survivors have turned off without add-ons. When I do teleport, I can tell which survivors are in my local area, because in the left-hand corner, the survivor pictures, the ring around them will glow white. It'll glow real quick. So I can tell when I've teleported near survivors. This comes in handy when trying to find survivors. It comes in handy in the end game when I'm trying to figure out where which exit gate the last survivor is trying to go for. So much built-in information. And I don't know. She has a little bit of everything, and it just suits her so perfectly. There's not any one thing she's particularly strong in, but because she has a lot of everything, gives her that ability to be up there. Dredge, on the other hand, B tier. Right here. Dredge gets information on teleports with Killer Instinct. Can teleport can teleport up to 3 times whenever he can teleport. Nightfall is great if you can make use of it. The ability to pull people out of lockers is wonderful. The one thing is that the locker, a place that is deemed as safety with the lockers is no longer safe because the dredge is great. I think the thing that drops him from being any higher is the fact that survivors can lock the lockers, and it takes so long to break out of them. Stops him from being any higher. Nightfall is honestly 90% of the reason he's in B tier is because of Nightfall, because of how powerful Nightfall is, making it so survivors cannot see anything, and you are able to see anything and everything in Nightfall. Wesker, A tier, right here. Mobility, being able to catch a lot of distance real quick. Unlike Nemesis, being infected with the Ouroboros makes a huge difference. You are hindered dramatically when you are fully infected with the Ouroboros. Being able to stop survivors from leaving the exit gates by grabbing them. Being able to damage multiple survivors if you grab one survivor and slam them into another. It's situational, but it's a great thing that, can be a make or break. Let's see, what else? His massive tear radius makes perks that are affected by tear radius to just skyrocket. They're so much more powerful, and he can get so much use out of perks that get rid of his tear radius because of his mobility and stuff like that. I don't know. It just, there's so many things that work well with him. He can use his tear radius to his advantage, or he can get rid of it and use that to his advantage. Then we got Knight. In his current state, B tier. Right here. I would have argued before he was able to choose the order of his knights and have them basically on independent cooldowns, he probably would have been more like over here. but because he has the ability to call the guard he wants, puts him up higher. I would say yeah. There are a few things that I do miss about how the old way you could work the system. You used to be able to order a guard to patrol on your spot the entire duration, and I would use that to force survivors to leave loops, like leave Shack. Yeah. I think that they did get rid of double tapping though. Nah, we'll leave him. We'll leave him where he's at. You used to be able to chase a survivor right next to your guard and swing to where you would hit the survivor immediately after the guard would hit them to basically two-tap a survivor. You can't do that. Well, you can do that. It's a lot harder to do now because a guard will not chase as long if you're within a certain distance. But yeah, no, that's where he belongs. Skull Merchant. We're gonna go off what she is right now because if the PTB goes how she's gonna go, here is where she will sit. But right now, right there. She has information with her drones. Her drones can make her stealthy. I would say everything that people complain about Skull Merchant, they should be complaining about Sadako as well. Because she has information. She can place the drones to become stealthy to get haste. Because Sadako gets haste whenever she teleports. The hindered when being scanned by a drone is, it sucks. But you get more hinder and haste off of both the clown's bottles. I don't know. I think a lot of people think that she belongs higher on this list. I think a lot of people think that she deserves to be up here. But the thing is that 3-gening's not a thing anymore. And when it is a thing, she doesn't get the same value out of it that she used to. You used to be able to make matches last for an hour. Chess Merchant is a meme that cannot be relived. I don't care what anybody says. Skull Merchant's fine. In my personal opinion, she is perfectly fine and healthy, and the people that don't think so are living and thinking about how Chess Merchant used to be. My opinion. Singularity. C tier. Right here. Singularity, high skill ceiling. A good Singularity can bring him up to an A tier. You have to have time to set up to be able to put the biopods where you want. You have to spend the time to look through the biopods. You can't get your power unless you can't place biopods on survivors, or what's it called, slipstream. You can't slipstream survivors just by shooting them. You have to shoot the biopods to place them, then look through the biopods to slipstream other survivors, which makes it difficult but not impossible to slipstream survivors in Chase. There's a lot of times where I feel like I am trying to teleport to survivors. And because I'm trying to teleport to survivors, I will shoot a biopod instead and place one somewhere that is useless. And it'll either destroy one that I have somewhere else, or I have to go back and destroy it so I don't destroy it one I need later. I think he has a lot of potential, but I think where he is good is with his high skill ceiling. And I feel like so many people are going to drop out before seeing any of that potential. Yeah. Xenomorph. This is a wild one. D tier. Nah, we'll put him up to the C tier. Right here. Myers can be afterwards. If it weren't for his tunnels, he'd be in D tier. The tail just doesn't do it for me. It's so much harder to use than Gnosis' whip. You are able to get some wilder shots with it, because you can curve up and over walls with it, if you can time it right. But the fact that you have to be in crawler mode to use the tail can be difficult with survivors placing fire turrets very well. Most survivors will just put them right next to generators, which becomes pointless because, when you're come out of a tunnel, it's going to disable the fire turret anyway. But well-placed fire turrets will completely negate your ability to use the tail anyway. And then all you have at that point is your tunnels. That's why you will never see me run Xenomorph without running Ripley's Watch, that destroys the turrets anytime that it pulls them from crawler mode. That way I don't have to worry about the turrets nearly as much. I can stay in crawler mode longer. More often, I feel like. But that's me. Chucky. If you ask me about Chucky when he first came to DBD, A tier. Nowadays, I'd say C tier. Probably here. They got rid of his ability to curve in Slice and Dice. They removed his ability to scamper under pallets in Heidi Ho mode. You can now only scamper in Slice and Dice mode, which makes it, I don't know. He got gutted so quickly, and I just feel like all of his potential to move him up on this roster list is gone. There are really good Chucky players out there that can do some gnarly swings, but I just don't see the average player, including myself, being able to land those consistently. Or ever, really. Unknown. Current state. Let me see what his current state is, because it's been a hot second.
No one will hurt you. No one but me.
By blast areas. Yeah, he hasn't changed. I know they were talking about making it so that you have to hit with the UVX. They don't. It's still the blast areas. It's still the spray. Above Trickster for sure. Here. Above Dredge. The ability to teleport, similar to how Dredge is. There aren't as much options to teleport to, but because you can more choose where those teleport locations are, you can have more control over it. You don't have to worry about it as often, right? You can have them more spread around the map, closer to gens, closer to what you need, rather than having, say lockers that you have to go to that may or may not be locked. They're just guaranteed to be able to teleport them to, short of a survivor getting rid of it. The UVX is a blast area, which means you can shoot people through walls with it. It does take 3 hits to down a survivor with it. Maybe more, depending on how it goes. A lot of his add-ons will bump him up. A lot of his lower tier add-ons will bump him up. Yeah. His chases force survivors to look behind them, which is bittersweet because it makes people not looking where they're going. And if they are looking behind them, the more they look behind them, the more they'll know where they're going regardless. So I feel like the more he's going to be out, the more down he's going to drop. But right now, currently I'd say B tier. You're not... And I mean, even when survivors aren't looking behind them, that makes it more possible for him to deal damage with the UVX. Vecna, in his current state, A tier. Having his extra chest gives survivors something to do. That's not doing generators. I feel like even at the, as we're getting close to the end of the games, even if I have the gauntlets and boots that I want, I'm still looking for that eye. I'm still looking for that hand of Vecna. It still could be there. 4 different powers. None of them are extremely great, but each one, he's got the flight for mobility. He's got the flight of the damned for the ranged attack. He has the chase perk, and he has the chase ability to block pallets. The dispel information at the very least. It also prevents people from being able to use their magic ability, their magic items. But like each spell works so well individually for when you need it, whether you need to get that distance or whatnot. Dracula. I'm gonna say it, and it's gonna be a hot topic. C tier. Right here. We'll put, you know what? Above Pig. Wolf form's okay. Bad form's okay. Regular form is okay. Nothing's great. You have the bats for mobility, but I feel like they're not that fast. You're stealthy, kind of, but the bats make such a sound that you can hear them coming from a mile away. The dog gives you information to a degree, meaning that like you get the scent orbs and you can see where they're going. And you get haste and you get a lunge attack, but I would say it's it's a worse version than the Demogorgons, because you don't have the full control of where you're going. You get two of them though, so maybe if you miss the first one, you can get the second one. And then in vampire form, you have the Hellfire, which will go across low walls, pallets and windows and stuff like that, which can come in handy. But because you can't shoot it through walls, which I want to do so often, it just takes me a long time to sit here and think, oh, I can't do that because I'm not Pyramid Head, or I'm not Vecna, I feel like the skill ceiling for Dracula can put him way up there in A tier as well, but it's just so many little things that just... Each little thing is okay, but in my opinion, every single power of his is just slightly subpar. And just because he has 3 subpar abilities does not mean he has a great ability. I think he needs his higher tier add-ons to really make a difference. But yeah, that's my tier list.